The movement was begun by a scientist who discovered, quite by accident, these signals being sent. Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered.
They want their weapon.
Lookoutfa Charlie.
I want that son of a bitch dead. I want him dead.
I was watching this channel the other day here, and I used to watch this channel quite a bit, and it was a fun channel. It was a family that went out and found stuff, explored things. Now it is something completely different, and I only watch it to find cases, red flags and cases. The channel now is a ridiculous channel that promotes pseudo-psychology, Hollywood psychology, fabricating the illusion of psychosis out of anything handy at the time, warping existing information to help establish the mental health narrative in general, and creating the false pretense that psychology is actually some form of science, when it's nothing but fantasy, like a fantasy that's turned reality by means of fraud, which has permeated our actual reality and subverted our actual existence. It is a weaponized channel now, and it was bought out by somebody and turned into this shit to promote the mental health narrative. But anyway, I began watching this video here called Teen Killer Shocks Detectives by the way he speaks. And the red flags were immediate to me. Immediate. I didn't even need to get 2 seconds into the video before I could see that something was wrong. Now, what are the odds that at this point in the game, just by examining someone's appearance and the crime they committed, I can predict what their circumstances were with great accuracy? What are the odds of that at this point? They're astronomical. I've spoke about this before in other videos, but the first thing that I noticed were the areas of his skin and the unnaturally dark circles under his eyes. Right there is a red flag. It's unnatural. Here's another photo where you can see it's unnatural. I knew immediately what we were dealing with here. In here, and it has nothing to do with natural mental health at all. So the kid here, who looks healthy at the time, had some bad circumstances. His dad died, and then he eventually kills his mom. His brother looks healthy here, right? But like every other case like this, there's something strange going on every single time. Here you can look at a close-up of the photo, and he looks very healthy right there. However, right after his dad dies, he has these dark circles, unnaturally dark circles that go from down here on his cheek all the way up to the top, right below his eyebrow, to the insides of the bridge of his nose. In an adjusted version, it almost looks like dirt. It is completely unnatural. I bet you can guess where this is going already. So this weaponized channel begins to explain the story, and we start to get into the details. The details are exactly what this channel is all about. And after the father dies, the kid is diagnosed with childhood schizophrenia, basically. Do you know what the odds of that are? Slim to none. It really didn't exist before. So let's check out what they have to say.
Zachary was diagnosed with a depressive disorder, but that was just the beginning.
Now guess what happens? Guess what happens? Do you remember the Blue Cube commercial?
And you don't even need to dial a telephone number. Just get in proximity of your nearest cell phone, smart TV, or NSA Mossad listening apparatus and reach out and touch us. Say, my name is Billy Smith. Put me in the program. But use your real name. Aliens, demons, God, angels, dead loved ones. We got it all covered.
Well, check this out.
He also told doctors that he was hearing voices, including the voice of his deceased father, and he was soon diagnosed with psychosis.
Now this is where they get crazy with this, because hearing voices used to be the be-all, end-all worst symptom of schizophrenia, the worst schizophrenic could have. Now they're saying that anybody can hear voices. Someone who's lost a parent. If you're under stress, you can hear voices. Bullshit.
Onset of schizophrenia in children is very rare, but
it's not just very rare. It's almost an impossibility. It is just a ridiculous notion. Childhood schizophrenia. And you know, this childhood schizophrenia came out right at the time of what? You know what?
still possible. Other causes of hearing voices during childhood could include depression and anxiety disorder.
People do not hear voices from depression or anxiety disorder. This is completely weaponized. This is bullshit.
And or experiencing a traumatic event.
So all these people that went through World War II, traumatic events, Vietnam, they came back hearing voices, all of them? Any of them? None of them. Especially the World War II dudes. Come on. How is the advancement of technology determining psychology and psychiatry? Find that a little bit weird?
Such as the death of a parent.
So when people's parents die, you can start hearing voices now, according to these people. People still talk about MPD, multiple personality disorder. They still talk about that to this day. People mention it like it's real, and it's not real. The first case was Sybil, which really formed this psychological diagnosis in 1973. You know, all these people came out later. The diagnosis of this went through the roof. And it came out that it was a total fraud. It was all made up. It was bullshit. None of it was real.
In 2007, the Davis family faced their first tragedy. The two boys lost their father, Chris, to amyotrophic lateral sclerosis.
So after the dad dies, the kid is suddenly diagnosed with schizophrenia. Are people seeing the pattern that is going on that didn't exist before? Now, look at this photo. Look at the dark circles under his eyes here after his dad dies. Completely unnatural. That's not lack of sleep. That is not stress. That is unnatural. You can see the spots on his face. And pay attention that the brother is wearing a CSI shirt. That'll come in later. Now, it turns out that he was hearing the voice of his dad that told him to kill his mom. He used a sledgehammer to do it and then lit the house on fire. It is a very crazy story, and it sucks for everybody. But this kid was not naturally hearing voices, period. But there's something really strange about this entire interview with this kid that no one ever brings up. And that's the fact that there is a fluttering that follows the voice in the video. A literal fluttering that sounds like a plastic blade or plastic blinds or an insect flying every time anybody talks in the room. So let me play this for you and let's check this out. Listen to the sound that follows the voices.
Where'd you get the sledgehammer at?
My gosh.
Okay, and what about, how did you try and set the fire?
First I tried to drag the lawnmower upstairs and empty the fuel tank in the room, but
See,
I couldn't get it in, so I just poured a bottle of whiskey on the floor and left it on fire.
so when they stop talking, that fluttering continues for like a half a second and then stops. And it continues throughout the entire interview like that. And eventually actually morphs into voices at points, which is pretty crazy. Check this out here. Listen to the fluttering in the voices.
I'm too get fired.
Okay, sir.
I'm too get fired.
Okay, sir.
I'm too get fired.
Okay, sir.
And then it actually morphs into voices here.
Yes, sir.
Man, like that. Man.
You can actually hear the muffled voice talking underneath them through the whole thing. And that is not a police radio or anything like that. Let's check it out.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Man.
Yes, sir.
Man, like
And the fluttering follows the voices off and on, louder and softer throughout the entire interview. Now listen here. This is very interesting. The cop is talking, right? And then in between his words, there is a robo voice. Let's check it out.
something like this that happened, there's usually a reason. Something like this that happened, there's usually a reason for it.
Everywhere in this video, there are anomalies. And coincidentally, the guy is hearing the voice of his dead father. Now, this is one of my favorite parts of the EWU psychological look into this case. Let's check it out.
He had two particularly strange apps downloaded on his phone, including one about serial killers and another about torture devices.
Okay, 2 strange apps on his phone about serial killers and torture devices, and they're going to use that against him. Why don't you look into the people that are making apps about torture devices and serial killers? Who's sick here? It's the same thing. They accuse people of watching movies. Oh, this person was sick. They were really into that movie. Hey, some motherfucker wrote that movie. And you don't have a problem with them, but you have a problem with the person that watched it and became interested in it. This is another case of this happening to somebody, and another case of these types of channels attributing things to things that don't exist.
Zachary had also bookmarked a few bizarre websites.
You could go through the bookmarks of anybody and find stuff like that and go, oh, that's weird. That's weird. Anything can be painted out as strange after the fact. That's what they do. That's what they did to Michael Cravey. They said when he stopped by the weatherman's office that he thought satellites were controlling the weather. Satellites. Just ridiculous shit. And here's more about the notes on his phone. It says, hanging over the masses like a shadow or a dark cloud. Now, any idiot can tell what this is about right away. It's about death. And they go in and psychoanalyze this. So we should be looking into, what, bands and poets now? Old Christian death lyrics, old Metallica lyrics, old, any form of what's considered dark is now, it's not poetry anymore. It's a sign of psychosis. It's not songwriting anymore. It's a sign of psychosis. This is madness, what these people are doing. They are ushering in the mental health narrative, and it is dangerous. The bottom line, this kid began hearing the voice of his dead dad, and it drove him to do something that would have never happened if he wasn't hearing the voice of his dead dad unnaturally. The lighting in this room is terrible. And even in this room, you can tell that his eyes have unnatural dark circles under them that his brother does not have at all. And areas of his skin where you can see unnatural dark spots. It's like he has pencil lead rubbed into his skin. Here's another great part. Check this out.
Given what we know about Zachary's obsession with murder and serial killers, it's likely that being called evil is a compliment.
So, Zachary has an obsession with evil and serial killers. Very strange. Well, here are the top 50 murder shows on mainstream TV. Here's the 43 best true crime shows on mainstream TV. His brother was wearing a damn CSI t-shirt. Here are the 34 best murder mysteries and crime dramas to watch, and the 45 best murder shows to watch on Netflix, Hulu, and HBO. So his obsession, everybody in the United States and other countries are obsessed with murder and shit. So it is so easy to take somebody's, Netflix history or their internet history and turn it into anything you want. The bottom line was the kid was unnaturally hearing the voice of his dead father telling him to kill his mom. So, of course, after that, they re-diagnosed him with schizophrenia and a depressive disorder. Now, how strange is it that I could look at him in the very beginning, the crime, and by the way he looked, and I knew that he would be hearing voices. What are the odds? So the poor kid's dad dies. He begins to show unnatural physical symptoms on his body. Then unnatural things began to happen to him. Hearing the voice of his dead dad. He eventually kills his mom, and then it's weaponized against everybody and helps fuel the mental health narrative by channels like this. This is what people need to be aware of. Not the bullshit surrounding it and going through somebody's internet history or what movies they like or what poetry they write down. That's it for now. Look out for Charlie. Look out for Charlie.
Oh, man. I like this kid. This fucking guy's crazy.
Look out for Charlie. I want that son of a bitch dead. I want him dead.